Hello, my little Luxes. Welcome back to another Luxy Charms, and I'm your host, charsielux. And we're still in that season, so yes, we are celebrating Luxmas, so Merry Luxmas, and also, as I said in the previous video, that we are celebrating the 3-year anniversary of my channel. So not only are we getting festive and ready for the holidays, but, I want to get ready for my next video that will be coming up, which will be I want to hear what are your favorite holiday horror movies and just regular holiday movies, Christmas movies, any of those films that you love to watch that are traditional in your home or even just for you. I want to hear all of your favorites. So it can be as silly and as ridiculous as Jack Frost, or even saying Die Hard, to Gremlins, to traditional ones like It's a Wonderful Life, White Christmas. I want to hear them all. And of course, you gotta go into the horror ones as well. So we also have Christmas Sleigh, Christmas Evil, Krampus. You know the drill. So please tell me in the comments, let me know what are your favorite horror and regular traditional Christmas movies that you like to watch. But that is not what this one is going to be about. Because yes, I was thinking about talking about very similar to what I did in Halloween, where I talked about my favorite movies that I like to watch for Halloween, and then I talked about yours. And then I remembered, wait a minute, I already did that last year. So I will share, hopefully I have it in the link up above that you can just click on it. So if you are interested in knowing what my favorite movies to watch for the holiday season is, I will have that video available for you to watch. So today I decided, I'm like, you know what? Yes, it's not holiday related in any way or form, but you know what? It doesn't matter because I'm still dressed in festive attire. I'm still celebrating Luxmas, and I'm still doing something that I love and enjoy, and we're also finishing something out that I started how many months ago, where I am finally going to talk about my ranking of the Critters films. So yay! And in fact, you already know what this one is about, because obviously the title is going to tell you me finally ranking the Critters franchise. So whatever, long ass introduction. And that's what this is all about. This is about me just diving into the things that I love, talking about the things that I want to talk about, and you're here along for the ride, and also giving just your opinions when it comes to your ranking to the franchise as well. So yes, I'm going to be sharing my thoughts. I'm going to be sharing my final notes on everything and telling you what my ranking is for the Critters franchise. But just because this is how I feel about it doesn't mean that you have a different opinion than mine. That's the beauty of being a person. We can have different points of views, but we can still talk about it and converse about it and have a fun conversation. And that's the beauty of it, in the fact of there are people out there that hate the fourth Critters. And I have flat out said, I love the fourth Critters. Yes, it's not going to be high on my ranking, but I still love it. So that's where we're going to get into it. It's weird when you're ranking a franchise that you love all of them. Well, I just watched the fifth one, and I wanted to love that one so much, especially when doing the behind the scenes, and I talked about it. Without further ado, let's jump into it and let's talk about it. So before I dive into my ranking of everything, spoiler alert, and viewer discretion advised, because I will give away some things. So if there's anything you don't want to have disclosed, be forewarned of that. For me, it always feels better to go backwards. So talking about my least favorite film of the franchise and then working my way up to talk about my top ranked one. So, I mean, it should come as no surprise after talking about the movie review and my thoughts on it, but the fifth film, Critters Attack, is my number 5. It's the lowest one for the ranking in that. But also keep in mind, the kills, the puppeteering, the prosthetics, the practicals, them bringing that back into the element for the critters, I love that. So half the film was phenomenal and amazing, but the other half I could have cared less about. The plot line was lacking, the acting wasn't up to par for me, and it fell short for me. And I really wanted to love this one. This one felt like it was trying to be on par with Gremlins. It felt like it was trying to be like another one that I can think of that would be a good one to relate with would be House 2. So if you remember the amazing puppets they brought in for that one and just how fun and delightful with still the horror elements to it. It felt like they were trying to be Goonies with Critters. But that's not what Critters has ever been about. And so, I mean, if you want to get the full deep dive, knowing my reviews and hearing the thoughts of the films and that, please, I'll put links down below all of the Critters and basically me talking about the films. So at least in this one, I can kind of give the fact of this one's just the lowest for me. It was an okay movie, but I didn't love it. So it's going to be the lowest ranked for me. Now, the next one for me is Critters 4, so Critters in Space, which is still kind of funny because technically Critters started off in space in the first place. This one, it just stayed in space once it was there. Well, technically, in the beginning it didn't really. It started on Earth still. So you had Charlie, who obviously Charlie's been in every single film except for the last one. But Charlie goes into space, but not only that, he gets frozen in time, and he's also in the future. So he ends up in this space shuttle, he ends up with his space crew, who is salvaging out in the future, salvaging parts out in space. So he ends up with these guys, and of course, there's critters involved. You know, once again, link to my review talking about the film. So this one is number 4 for me, but I still love this film because of the cast. And yes, the plot line isn't like 100% smooth and everything, but the actors make it for me, and their fun dialogue and the fact that they just pull it together for me so that it's fun, it's witty, it's quippy, and it's funny. But what it lacks for me is the fact that they made Ugg a bad guy. But I hated the fact that they decided to do this weird twist that Ugg was all of a sudden the bad guy, but none of it made sense. Like, what motive would Ugg have to become this bad guy? And also to remember that Ugg is a bounty hunter that is a shapeshifter. So the fact that he's decided to shapeshift permanently into his human form that he had from the first film, is it like a weird twisted way to say that man is corruptible, so that because Ugg all of a sudden became man and stayed man, he became corrupted? I mean, obviously that's not what it is, but it's just a thought that ends up being there. So that's why it ended up being 4 for me. So moving next on the ranking, which you would have number 3, and it's just going to go in line, and it's Critters 3. Now, this one is still a fun one, and you still have Charlie in this one. Charlie has come back to Earth. He has been a bounty hunter out seeking more Krites, seeing if they're anywhere else, and he's laying out booby traps and things like that. Well, The other characters in the film who were on vacation end up at this rest stop area because they got a flat tire. The kids end up finding Charlie in the woods, and it kind of goes from there because, wouldn't you know it, it just so happens that Krites are there and attach themselves to their father's truck. So then, of course, you go through the whole scenario. Once again, I have the movie review, the full story and everything, because it ends up happening where these kids and the people who live in this apartment building, where these Krites end up attacking everybody, they have to reach out to Charlie for help. So, that one, like I said, it's a fun one. And I love that the Kyoto brothers are still a part of it. They're creating the creatures, the critters. So it's just a fun film with some creative kills as well. So I still love the film. It just happens to be number 3. So for my second film, this is where we're not in order anymore. The OG number 1 is my second favorite film, because my number 1 favorite Critters film is the second one. And it's one of those weird ones where a lot of us can say, like, the original first one, the OG, that's your favorite of every franchise. Well, sometimes. I can't say every, but for a majority of it, the first ones usually are the best. But this is one of those rare cases where I love the second one. The second one is my favorite. So the OG, I still love it. It is still up there. And for the longest time, it was the OG. And then I just kept realizing that there just was something special about the second one that 9 times out of 10, if I'm going to sit and watch one of them, it's usually the second one. And I love watching it on Easter for tradition. And the first one, obviously the original one, you have the Brown family that gets invaded by the Krites, and you have the bounty hunters coming down to help them. Charlie is a hired hand by the Brown family, and this is how they all tie in together for the first time, because Charlie ends up becoming one of the bounty hunters and joins them by the end of the film. But everything for the original film is amazing. You have fantastic actors, a wonderful plotline and story. You got the puppeteers, you got the practicals. Everything is perfect for that film. And of course, you got the humor that is tied in with everything. And you have that even more with the second film. It's more humorous, and they bring in more comedy, especially with the Krites, and you get more of that sensation of it being a horror comedy, but it still had horrific scenes, so the kills were still brutal and scary. And that one is very nostalgic for me, because the first of any of the Critter films I'd ever seen was the second one, and I still remember the feeling it gave me when I first saw it. So there's that nostalgic feeling that ties me to the second one a lot more than the other ones. And then as I got older, and then I kept trying to explain, because when I finally started getting into horror movies, I started like explaining the plot line to my dad and my brother who loved horror movies, and my dad said, "That sounds like Critters." So that's when we started going through the franchise together. And then it was funny because obviously you start off with the first one, and I'm like, it wasn't this, but the creatures are familiar. So my dad had said, he goes, "Well, there's more than one." So then that's when we got to the second one, which, the part I remembered the most was the sheriff dressed as an Easter bunny getting attacked by the Krites. So there it was. So there you have it. You have my ranking of the Critters franchise. We have gone through how many months talking about all the Critter films, and finally here to talk about my rankings. And so you have number 5, Critters Attack. Number 4, Critters 4. Number 3, Critters 3. Number 2, Critters, the OG. And number 1 is Critters 2. So, yes, there we have it, finally, the ranking. It's only taken how many months? But you know what? Critters is one of my favorite franchises, so it's one of those that I wanted to take my time talking about all of them. And there's so much to them, and I wish I would have taken a longer time when I first talked about the original Critters film, but I did a voiceover one with my artwork, so I'm still very proud of it. It's just, I wish I would have done more of a deep dive in that one like I did the other ones. But if you've noticed here on my channel, I seem to go in like 3-month spurts where I just have lows. And when I have those lows, I'm not in the right mindset or moods to feel creative. That video is extremely important to me because that was me getting back into my element and feeling comfortable to start working on stuff again. And that's also when I started doing my Masters of Horror franchise and everything. So one of my next videos coming up here soon will be the 7th of the Masters of Horror. So we'll be excited to talk about that one too. But yes, anyway, we have officially made it through the Critters franchise. Yes, we could talk about the Critters TV series. That was atrocious. So if we're gonna talk about it, we're talking about that. That it's just meh. Unless you are watching it to make fun of it, it's gonna be the lowest of the low. Critters Attack was much better than that. I can give Critters Attack that easily. Because like I said, half of the film I really enjoyed. It just was the really poor dialogue that I just couldn't get into, and it felt like lack of plotline. So, let me know in the comments below, what are your ranking? Why? What is your reasoning for your ranking and everything? So, there we have it. And you know what? Give me some more suggestions. What franchises would you like to see me talk about? And I mean, there's plenty of them out there, and I would love to dive in talking about the Tremor films. I absolutely love every single one of those. So that one would be pretty similar to this one, where I'm talking about movies that I love, but, you know, they still get ranked, and they're still ranked differently than, you know, what some people wouldn't expect me to rank them at. I'm pretty sure people would be surprised. But it's just funny when you talk about films where you're like, I love them all, but I'm still going to rank them. But then you have other fun ones where there are the long franchises like Friday the 13th, where there are a few of the films that I don't like them. So those ones can be easier to rank. Let's put it that way. If there's some of them that you don't enjoy, it's easy to rank the franchise. But anyway, so please, once again, let me know in the comments below your ranking. Let me know other franchises that you would like to hear me rank. I will be doing movie reviews on them, ranking them, you know, yada, yada, yada. You know the drill. But thank you so much for joining me here on another Luxy Charms, and Merry Luxmas, everybody. I'm super excited to be celebrating another holiday season. And if you would like to follow me on my other social medias, there'll be a link in the description down below. And remember, I am the afterlife of the party, but I would love for you to join me in the afterlife of the party. And the easiest way to do that is to come and join me on my Patreon. And on my Patreon, you get exclusive videos and vlogs, thoughts and opinions by me. So you definitely get a lot on there. I don't think people realize how often I am vlogging on there and talking about my personal feelings and opinions on things. I got into talking about the CEO of United Healthcare who got assassinated. So yeah, you get a lot of different opinions over there that you will not get here on YouTube. Anyway, on the screen you will see a shout out to all of my fellow Patreon tier members. Thank you so much for joining me on there. And a huge thank you to my ultimate Luxes. So thank you so much to Chris Bruner and Bishop. Thank you for being an ultimate Lux with me. And always remember to slay, subscribe, like, and always be yourself. And remember that mental health is just as important as physical health. And I am pushing that for this season because I am going to tell you right here and now, I have been struggling with my seasonal depression. I've been struggling since the election and everything. I've been at some of my lowest lows, but keep trying to pull myself out of it. And it's been a huge struggle. So please know out there, you're not alone. If you're struggling and feeling this way, you're not alone. And together we can get through this, we can work through this. And please know, always reach out to someone. There's somebody out there. And you know what? You're important. And I remind myself of those things too. So know that you're not alone in struggling. But anyway, Merry Luxmas, everybody. And I hope you have a Luxy Charms kind of day. Bye.